Just for the recording, I'm just making a log that I have logged on at 6:45 p.m. on June 21st to allow for any early participants. I will pause the recording and restart at the 7 o'clock time frame. And this is for the modification for permit number B02393146 at 344 Cotswold Place. All right, I will start the recording again at 7. Okay, I'm restarting the recording as it's 7 o'clock. Hey, Ryan.
Hey there. Okay.
Anyway, I won't keep you. Let's. I definitely don't think anybody else is joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really think I need to announce to anybody else that we're recording it. But like I said, there are 10 bullet items on here plus another form. So we have already done a couple of these. I scheduled it and I started it 10 to 15 minutes prior to. I actually did a full 15 and I got that recorded so that they know that I've been on here in case anybody jumped in. And actually, just for the record, we're now starting, quote unquote, the meeting at 7:16 according to my clock. So we gave 15 minutes after too, so that's a full 30 minutes. The hearing or the modification that the county actually assigned once we submitted all the paperwork and they accepted said paperwork, the number for that is 644098. And the location is 344 Cotswold Place in Riva, Maryland, 21140. And Ryan, anything I say that I'm wrong on, just jump in and correct me. The building permit number for this application is B as in boy 023-93146. And the tax account number for the location is 1022-9001-6169. Let's see, pull up real property. Owners of record are Marla and Ryan Wilkerson, and deed reference is 30310 for LIBOR, and folio is 462. All right, let me see. Must announce the attendees that the meeting is recorded, which I've done, and there's nobody else here. I have this on a single recording link, so that's number 3. Spend a couple of minutes at the beginning laying out the ground rules and familiarization for questions or comments. I guess if anybody joins, we can do that. Obviously, you can jump in anytime you'd like. I think that they really mean if you have, 10 or 15 people, we'll probably explain that we'll keep everybody muted and spend questions at the end, but I don't see that happening. Facilitators must generate a list of participants. So I think it's worth noting for the record, we have no participants. The only other person on the call besides myself, Jeremy Clancy with applied and approved permits, is the owner, Ryan Wilkerson. This is telling me to have, if people did join, they wanted us to put their name and address in the chat box. But we don't need to do that. All right, so let's jump off for a minute because it says, at a minimum, information identified on the revised community meeting checklist form must be clearly addressed. So let me jump over to that form because that form is actually kind of the meat and potatoes of everything. Okay. Number 1, explanation of the regulatory requirements. So we are requesting a code modification to Anne Arundel County Code section 17-6-403, which states that development may not occur within slopes or within 25 feet of the top of steep slopes. The pending permit application for this project is B02393146 as stated. The development we are proposing is to tear down an existing multi-level wood deck and replace with a multi-level vinyl deck nearly in kind. The proposed deck will be nearly identical to the existing deck, but due to several existing angles, it is slightly different. There is a small area that will extend further than it does today by 2 feet, but no further out than the furthest portion of the existing deck. Moreover, there is another small area that will actually be slightly less wide by 2 feet than it is today. We are providing existing and proposed plans to make this more clear. Just for the recording, let's see, because I would have done this if there was people on here. So let's see if I can share this. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the existing site plan as I scale it out today. Obviously minus a site visit, but this is how I have it scaled. And for recording, you can kind of see there's 3-level deck now with a lower deck, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it the middle one that has a hot tub on it now?
We just see your like your documents. We don't actually see the plan. You did that map.
All right. Site plans. How do I get that? So that site plan right now is not up.
No.
It's still just showing my files.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Let me see if I can get rid of these.
No.
I mean, it's not crucial with no one on, but I would have done it this way. So this is good to know. All right. You would have told me if your screen changed. Let me see what else I can do.
Yeah. Now it's gone.
Yeah, I brought it back to this one. I want to see. Why it's only showing. Oh. Application. Bear with me. Why can't I get to that? Do you see that?
Yep, I see that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then why?
The community meeting checklist form.
Yeah. So this is what I'm reading through right now. This is everything that they make us go over for the recording. So I'm trying to figure out why. If I can share that with you, why can't I share site plan? Let me try to drag something over to it. Maybe I got to do it out of Zoom. And if that works, I'll be shocked. No. Oh, bummer. Is that showing my screen?
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
All right, we might have to do this the hard way. I'm gonna try to make this bigger then.
There you go. Well, the plat's up there.
Okay. All right, so I have to do it manually. I don't know why, but as long as it gets on there, that's fine. So you can see the existing conditions.
Yes.
All right, let's see if it'll let me. So this is what we're showing as proposed. So let me go back. This is existing. And when I explained, remember the deck that we're going with is the 14-foot projection, not the 12, 14-foot projection. And I scale that out. Now this has a bump out at the existing house, but from that main house line out to this furthest spot now, that's how I have that drawn, is 14 foot out by 29 feet across. So again, just for recording, and this is how I submitted this, by the way, for your knowledge, for the variance and for the modification, is I stapled. So when they ask for 14 copies of the site plan, they actually got 28 sheets of paper because I stapled existing and proposed and highlighted them like this so that they can see. I wanted to be clear as to what the existing conditions were, what the proposed conditions are, or going to be, so that they can see that our ask, again, I'm obviously biased, is very minimal. I mean, extremely minimal. All right, let's see how I stop doing that. All right, let's go back to, so now it's just me and you, the black screen, the normal black screen.
Yep.
Okay. All right, name and location of the project. We gave whether or not the project is a public capital improvement project. It is not a capital improvement project. It is privately owned. Existing and proposed ownership of the land, so both will not change. And again, for good measure, real property has that listed as Marla and Ryan Wilkerson, Wilkerson. Hopefully that is spelled correctly. Let's see. It wants whether or not the property is in the critical area. It is in the critical area. That's actually why we need a modification and a variance, because the steep slope buffer is because of the critical area. So it is the critical area, and it's asking for the designation. Stand by, I should have that. So while I'm looking for this, critical area has, in Anne Arundel, they have what's called IDA, LDA, and RCA. You are in LDA. LDA is limited development area. So all what I'm showing as 11,221 square foot of the lot is in LDA. So the critical area designation is LDA, which doesn't mean anything to you or me. It does for me. It's IDA means that they develop it like crazy. LDA is probably in the middle, and then RCA is they're really trying to conserve resources. That's resource conservation. So in the grand scheme of things, it does not matter to you. Just means how much of the land you're allowed to cover, but you're doing an open deck and it's actually considered pervious, so it doesn't matter. Location of all environmental features on the site as listed in sketch plan and preliminary checklist. So that's why I wanted to show the site plan. The same, we're not touching anything else on the lot around like where the easement is, the driveway, the front side, anything out by Cotswold, the sidewalk, the front porch, all of that staying the same. You also have on the right side what's called an overland relief easement. We're nowhere near that. So none of those features, which they have a copy of all of this and it's on the recording, we're not going near, which is good. Let me pull up. Location of forest, individual and specimen trees and priority forest areas. Okay, so we don't have any of those, but again, if people were going to join, I was going to try to show them our pictures, which I don't even know if I can do anymore. Let me try it though. Can you see that?
Yep, I can.
Awesome. So I'm literally cheating Zoom right now because I'm showing a portion of my screen. So again, just for the recording, you can take this in, you can clearly see there's no specimen tree. There is if you look over here on the right, I bet you that's every bit of 18 to 24 inches. So that could be considered a specimen tree. I don't even know what type it is, but we're not going to it. The front portion of this deck probably falls, and I'm going to guess, but maybe you know better than me, probably at least 10 feet away from where that tree is, maybe 8 feet. Regardless, it's certainly not within the footing that needs to be built for the new deck.
Correct. Yeah, I would say 8 to 10 feet. Yeah.
Okay. So, and everything else is shrubbery or plants, or there's no specimen trees, even from what I could tell on the side. And I probably even have a better view there. See all the way over to the corner of the house. Same thing exists. This is coming on the right side. So you can also see down the side of the house. So specimen tree isn't an issue, which is good because that's one of the that's one of the killers, is specimen trees. All right, let me see if I can stop sharing that, come back to this. Description of any single lot residential project. So I can only surmise from what they're asking there is if you were building a house. Let's just be clear for the record. This is an existing single family dwelling on a residential lot with an existing open deck that's being torn down for a proposed new open deck. And the existing deck features are what I would call 3-level, and the new one will be basically 2-level. There's a larger upper level that will step down to the lower level. None of 10 applies proposed multi-unit lot residential projects, and none of number 10 applies. Number 11 doesn't apply because it says description of proposed non-residential or mixed-use projects. Again, this is residential, so that does not apply. Number 12 says for residential or mixed-use projects, the impacted schools and whether or not they are open or closed. So clearly an open deck does not apply to this one. However, just for good measure, because they asked for that on the modification as well, I looked it up. The 3 schools in the area are David's, well, again, correct me if any of this is wrong, but this is straight from Anne Arundel's website. Davidsonville Elementary, Central Middle, and South River High.
Yep.
I believe the elementary and the high were both open, and I believe they actually had the middle listed as closed, but it's inconsequential for what we're doing. Oh, what does it say? Type of proposed water and sewer service. So that is not proposed. All of that is existing. But let me ask you, and I'm fairly confident because it's in a subdivision, you're on public water and public sewer?
We are, yes.
Okay. So there's no proposed water and sewer, but the existing is public water, public sewer, no wellers, no septic. Proposed impact to each environmental feature and a list of modifications that will be required for impact to each environmental feature. So the only environmental feature that exists on this lot is the steep slopes, and it's actually the buffer. And I would argue that there's actually no impact because the existing deck has pier footings, post and piers construction with concrete footings. And that's exactly what the new deck will be constructed with as well. They may not, I would actually venture to say they will not be in the exact same location. However, the projection of the proposed open deck and the location of where the open deck now is are in the exact same location. The footings will most likely move around, but the slope that is affected would have already been affected. If this modification or this variance were declined, the slope that would be protected in an attempt to not allow any sort of disturbance in them, there's already disturbance. The deck is there. Any proposed mitigation? Okay, so mitigation is one of those, I always find it weird that they ask this ahead of time. There's no proposed mitigation at this time. However, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would venture to say every owner I've ever worked with that's getting a permit, if the permit is predicated on some sort of replanting or mitigation, in other words, if mitigation is necessary for the permit to be approved, then we'll follow the county's direction. If it's a replanting plan, so how that works is it's usually reserved for additions or something that's got pervious surface. So Anne Arundel County looks at your lot and they say, you have a 12,000 square foot lot, I'm rounding up, or whatever it may be. You're covering right now, however much, again, make up a number, say 30% of your lot is covered. Now you want to put an addition up that's got a roof over it. Now you're covering more of your lot, which means less of your ground can take in rainwater. And instead of taking it in, it's going to run off somewhere else. So to mitigate that impervious surface, they asked you to do like a replanting plan or add plants that will offset the square footage that you're trying to cover up. So if you were putting up a 12 by 20 addition, they may say somewhere on your lot, they would prefer around where you're putting the addition up, but somewhere around that area, you may need to plant 6 bushes so that it takes up that impervious surface and lets more groundwater be absorbed. I would venture to guess that in your case, a couple of things are working in your favor. A, it's an open deck. There's no roof, so it is pervious. Rainwater goes through it. B, you have a bunch of plants there, you know, a bunch of bushes or plants or, you know, maybe they're flowers, whatever they are. But that's why I included those photos, not just on tonight, but they're included in your packet, because I would venture that to say that you're not going to need to do replanting. But to answer this one for recording, when it asks any proposed mitigation to offset the impact, there's nothing proposed at this point, but should it be required, we are willing to do what they need to do to get the permit approved.
Yes.
List any other known modifications. There's no other modifications needed for this project. However, it's an open-ended question because it only says modifications. So just to be good stewards of the recording, we will mention that we are also being required to get a variance for the same reasons because of the 25 or the steep slope requirement. So we have applied for the variance for this project, and it is scheduled for, I think you said August 17th as far as the hearing. And then it says any other relevant information of note, which again, for other people, I would have gone back to the pictures and made the relevant information of same location. But for you, that seems silly because you already know it. So I have nothing else. We would at that point probably ask people if they have any questions. But now let me go back to their main list. It's bouncing back and forth. Oh, after this checklist, it does say vicinity map. Let's see if I can pull that up because I pulled up a vicinity map for them. Stand by. See if I can share screen and then find my vicinity map. All right, can you see that?
Yes.
Beautiful. So that's on recording. Again, just for Anne Arundel's benefit, we did have a vicinity map. It was included in the packet as well, but there it is. And it says, or any conceptual or survey engineering plans. So these aren't survey, but I will share that's not it. Here you go. Just a conceptual of the deck itself. This is what we're applying for. Again, just for recording purposes. And actually that's it, because then it says number 9 is the if no stakeholders join, please still go through all of the proceeding. And then please, number 10 says, please note if technical difficulties result in the inability to complete, which it was just you and I. We talked about there being storms, so I guess there's a chance that people were out of power, but we have the completed recording, so I think you should be good to go. Do you have anything you would like to add?
No, I don't think so. I think we've gone over everything, and I mean, you've definitely explained it in thorough details. So yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Let me go back to my main Zoom screen just to make sure I don't have, oh, wait a minute, stop sharing. Nope, it's definitely still just the 2 participants. I mean, I thought so, but I just want to make sure. And let me just double check my email because that went out in the notice. I don't know if you saw this, by the way, which I'll just share for you. Well, it's probably good for the video anyway. But I sent, that's not this, mailing list. This is all the people you have to do within a certain distance from your residence,
Mhm.
and your neighborhood is big. So this was all the,
There's a lot of people.
yeah, there's a lot of people on here. I've done a lot of mailings. This was the most envelopes. And I'll be honest, I made Michelle pack every one of these envelopes because I didn't do any of them. But there was a lot of your neighbors that felt. Now, I always go like an extra 50 feet in all directions just because I don't want to ever, have them tell me that I missed a resident, because of a Google Earth distance line.
Yeah.
So I probably have a couple extra on here than we needed to have, but this was a lot. So these are the amount of people that got tonight's invite and description of what you were trying to do. So I think there's plenty on there.
Yeah, there's definitely plenty on there. That's for sure. So,
And we had no one show up. So anyway, I think that's it. I will go back in here and stop recording. I don't have anybody else. It's 7:41 just for good measure. So the meeting's been going on for 40 minutes and we had no one show up. I think you're good to go. I am going to stop this.